Back to the 1960s, the MiG-21 fishbed was a phenomenal aircraft. It was considered the Soviet Union's masterpiece. To this day, over 11,000 units of the MiG-21 have been produced and operated by various countries around the world. The MiG-21 served as the Arab states' arsenal in the early 1960s and was the most advanced Soviet fighter jet in the Middle East at that time. During the Cold War, the MiG-21 was the premier aircraft of the Eastern Bloc, and the United States had no clues or information about it, how it was made, its weaknesses, and what weapons and tactics should be developed to counter it. It was a Soviet silver bullet. After the MiG-21 began flying in the region, Israel became concerned that the fishbeds owned by surrounding countries would be more superior than their then-current frontline fighter aircraft, the Mirage 3 from France. This prompted them to decide that they needed as much detailed data as possible on the capabilities of the MiG-21. Because of this, the Israeli Air Force urgently requested the Israeli intelligence agency, Mossad, to find ways to gather all kinds of information about this new fighter jet, and if possible, to acquire a complete unit for evaluation. A Mossad agent named Gene Thomas attempted to persuade an Egyptian Air Force pilot to defect and fly a MiG-21 to Israel. The Egyptian pilot was even offered $1 million if he agreed to betray his country. However, Israel's efforts failed, as the targeted pilot reported Thomas's activities instead. The lives of the Mossad agent and two of his colleagues ended at the gallows of the Egyptian government in 1962. Israel then received information about an Iraqi pilot who was dissatisfied with his career. The pilot was Captain Munir Redfa, a deputy commander of an Iraqi Air Force fighter squadron. Captain Munir Redfa, an Iraqi Air Force MiG-21 pilot, was eventually persuaded to fly his MiG-21 fishbed to Israel, with the promise that his family would be taken out of Iraq to Israel to avoid retaliation from the local regime, and that he would be given $300,000 to start a new life in Israel. Captain Munir Redfa himself said he decided to defect to Israel due to regret and guilt after several times carrying out missions bombing Kurdish villages with napalm. Mossad then immediately took action. Members of Captain Redfa's family were saved and taken out of the country under various pretexts. As soon as his entire family was safely smuggled out, Captain Redfa waited for an assignment from the Iraqi Air Force for a long-distance flight training mission in the western desert of Iraq, which, according to his plan, would mark the beginning of his defection. However, Captain Munir Redfa's defection was not a spontaneous act. It was the result of a daring and extraordinary intelligence operation carried out by Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. For the first time, a MiG-21 was obtained through this intelligence operation. The operation began in 1965 when Israel learned that the Soviet Union was supplying Egypt, Syria, and Iraq with MiG-21s. General Ezer Weizmann, the commander of the Israeli Air Force, was enraged. He urged Mossad to gather all kinds of data about the MiG-21, and if possible to obtain the aircraft itself for Israel's advantage. After waiting for a long time, finally the opportunity for defection arose. Captain Redfa was ordered to perform a long-distance flight training in western Iraq. He memorized the flight plan prepared by Mossad, opened the map, and determined his defection destination. On the morning of Tuesday, August 16, 1966, personnel of the Iraqi Air Force prepared the MiG-21 F-13 number 534 to be piloted by Captain Redfa. The aircraft was filled with fuel for today's long-range training mission. At a certain point, he separated from the formation and struggled to fly to Israel. According to the agreed flight plan, from Iraq, Captain Redfa flew over Jordan. This flight plan was meticulously planned, estimated to be outside the reach of Jordanian radars. However, two Jordanian Royal Air Force Hawker Hunter aircraft were scrambled to chase and intercept the MiG-21 F-13 flown by Captain Redfa. But, as had been planned beforehand, the MiG-21 Fishbed C flew at a high speed and an altitude of about 30,000 feet, beyond the capabilities of the Hawker Hunters, making it impossible for them to intercept. The flight plan was also designed to avoid populated areas, so the aircraft could be shot down without endangering the population below if the defection was deemed a hoax or an attack tactic by the Iraqi Air Force. After leaving Jordanian airspace, the MiG-21 finally entered Israeli airspace over the southern Dead Sea. The Israeli Air Force had also prepared an escort, 2 Mirage 3 jets, to lead the MiG-21 to Hatzor Air Base. After covering more than 900 cairns, he reached his destination. The MiG-21 proved to be valuable. With this aircraft, the Israeli Air Force developed tactics that successfully brought down several MiG-21s in the 1967 war. With this aircraft, Israel was also able to pressure the United States to allow Israel to purchase the F-4 Phantom, thereby ending the US arms embargo that had lasted about 20 years.